You are a group of adventurers who have been hired to rid a nearby village of its dark secret. You're traveling a gravel road which leads to a village named Barovia, with its houses dark as tombstones. Nestled in these solemn dwellings are a handful of closed-up shops. Even the tavern is shut tight. A soft whimpering draws your eye towards a pair of children standing in the middle of an otherwise lifeless street. After shushing the boy, the girl turns to you and says, "There's a monster in our house." She then turns and points to a tall brick row house that has seen much better days. Its windows are dark, it has a rusty gate, the houses on either side are abandoned. I am Kristopher Banner, and for the next 6 minutes, I am going to be your dungeon master. Before we start playing, I want to go over some important facts about what Dungeons & Dragons is. The world is real. In a video game, nothing important happens unless your character's there. Super minor things might happen, seasons changing, things like that. But nothing important will ever happen unless you are there and present. That is not the case in Dungeons & Dragons. You can easily miss world-shattering events. Wars are happening, kings are being assassinated, extraplanar beasts are being summoned, and you don't even know what's happening because you're on level 4 of Zognar's Labyrinth, fighting a rust monster, and that's okay. Now, in case you didn't get this already, you're the main characters in this story. But you are not the main characters in the world. In video games, your character is the focus of the entire world. Everyone exists to make sure that you are the heroes. That's not the case for us in D&D. There are other adventuring groups out there. It's a lucrative gig. Some of them might even have the same quests as you. They might have the same objectives. If you decide to sit and stay home knitting quilts instead of adventuring, they might go out and try to slay the dragon instead of you, which brings me to an important second point. Unless you're the level 20 emperors of the multiverse, there are definitely more important people out there than you, and they're definitely much more powerful than you. Next, the world doesn't level up with you. In a video game, the challenges are carefully crafted to ensure that they're adequate for your level, your experience, and to be hard enough to be fun without being overpoweringly difficult. Remember, the world is real. If you go deep into uncharted wilderness at level 1, you're going to get eaten by a beast. That's why no one lives out there. Similarly, when you've gained a few levels, you shouldn't expect that suddenly all the goblins are going to get leveled up to hobgoblins and mega goblins and whatnot. If you want to go back as a very powerful level 20 multiverse kingdom owner, you can go and kill these goblins at your will. So you've probably gathered that the world is dangerous and persistent. You don't get multiple lives or save points. When your character dies, unless you've got a bunch of diamonds and a high-level cleric willing to cast Raise Dead, that's it. In Mario, for instance, you can try over and over until you beat the challenge. If you end up dying to an intelligent creature and you go back to fight it, it's going to remember you. It's going to be ready. It's going to know your strengths. It's going to know your weaknesses. Now, finally, the enemies. They have a real person with real feelings behind them. It's me. Please don't be upset if you die. It's just part of the game. I'm going to help you make a sweet new character. He's going to be cooler than the last one. I'm not trying to be a jerk to you if my chaotic evil villain is mean to you, calls you a few names, stabs you a few times. I'm playing a role just like you, and we're trying to tell a story together. Now, where were we? You come screaming out of the haunted house, vowing to never help creepy children in the street again. You see a single shaft of light thrusting illumination into the main square. Above the gaping door, a sign hangs precariously askew, proclaiming this to be the Blood on the Vine Tavern. The once finely appointed tavern has grown shoddy over the years. A blazing fire in the hearth gives scant warmth to a few huddled souls within. A pudgy little man named Eric tends bar. Mindlessly, he cleans glasses. Once they're all clean, he cleans them again. He takes your drink over, orders in a dull, hollow voice, and begins to tell you about the master of the realm. Under raging storm clouds, a lone figure stands silhouetted against the ancient walls of Castle Ravenloft, the vampire Count Strahd von Zarovich. He stares down a sheer cliff at the village below, Barovia. A cold, bitter wind spins dead leaves about him, billowing his cape in the darkness. Lightning splits the clouds overhead, casting stark white light across him. Strahd turns to the sky, revealing his angular muscles of his face and his hands. He has a look of power and of madness. His once handsome face is contorted by a tragedy darker than night itself. Rumbling thunder pounds the castle spires. The winds howling increases as Strahd turns his gaze back to the village. Far below, yet not beyond his ken, a party of adventurers has just entered his domain. Strahd's face forms a twisted smile as his dark plan unfolds. He knew they were coming, and he knows why they have come, all according to his plan. He is the master of Ravenloft. Only the howling of wind or perhaps a lone wolf fills the midnight air as Strahd has disappeared. The master of Ravenloft is having guests for dinner. The party mage comes back in from fog outside after trying to get some air from the chilling tale he just heard. He seems to be acting funny. Your party sets out on the road, and you begin the treacherous trek to Castle Ravenloft. There's a vampire lord out there, and we're going to kill him. You make your way through the creaking, groaning trees, and you notice something in the distance. A tombstone with a familiar name on it. You walk closer to it. You get closer and closer. And you notice an open coffin right beside it. Lying with his arms crossed inside is the party's mage. You feel chills run down your spine. You turn around to look at the mage who's standing safely in the back of the party. A black smoke washes over him, and he changes from his once noble self into the shape of a man described to you as the vampire lord, Strahd von Zarovich. He takes a bow and he says, "Welcome to Barovia." And he turns into a cloud of bats, and he flies away. If you've enjoyed that little story, this is a summary of 3 actual sessions of Dungeons & Dragons that my party and table mates did together. As of yesterday, in fact, we hit our 100th session. So, if you're looking for an excuse to bring friends together every few weeks, have an outrageously good time, and tell a story together, I implore you to play Dungeons & Dragons. Thank you.